I've been here more times than I can count. Frustrated, stuck, bored, blocked, wondering if I'm ever going to have another creative idea again in my life.
Hi, I'm Danny Gregory, and if you're an artist or a writer or a musician or any kind of creative person, I bet you know exactly what I was talking about. For over 25 years, I've been making art and writing and exploring my creativity. And let me tell you, it hasn't always been smooth sailing. But today I want to share with you the story of how I've learned to break through these creative blocks time and time again. And it all starts with getting uncomfortable. Every month, I do some sort of experiment to push myself creatively. And these experiments have been a fundamental part of teaching myself to make art over the past quarter century. When I feel like my creative self has become all too comfortable, snuggled in a cozy cashmere cardigan by the fire with a lap blanket across my knees and a cup of tea in one hand and a well-worn pen and a sketchbook full of timid drawings that I've done a million times before in the other. And I descend with a hoot, and I grab myself by the scruff of the neck and I fling myself out the door and force me to do something uncomfortable and new. It might involve going to clown school, or renting a painting studio, or moving across the country, or buying a few dozen tempera sticks, or making an animated short, or learning to code, or posting a dog drawing on Instagram every day for 100 days. The key is momentum and change. And I shove myself into unfamiliar places to see what's going to happen. Will I fail miserably? Good. Will I develop a bit of backbone? Better. Will I emerge with a new set of tools and a fresh skin of confidence and a gleam in my eye and a smile on my face? Yes, yes, and yes. It can be scary. No one likes to plunge into unfamiliar terrain, to stumble, to fail and fall knowingly. There was a period in my life when I learned most of the important stuff that I still use today. It was a time of fear and unfamiliarity, of bruises and scrapes, of experimentation and failure and self-reliance. I cried many, many times every day. I howled. I lay inconsolable on the floor with a shiny, red, tear-streaked face. But boy, did I learn a lot. I got up and I continued the adventure, and I learned to walk and talk and run and use the potty. From 1960 to 1964, I went from a helpless swaddling to Superman, cape and all. For many years after that, I forgot the importance of risk and failure, and I pretended to be competent. Risk and novelty became my enemies. I couldn't afford to fail. I avoided new things. I spoke with authority even when I had none, and I became stuck, blocked, fearful. I resented people who embraced new things, and I pushed back against change. I wanted the clock to stay frozen or even roll back. When I was little, I couldn't wait to grow up so I'd have the freedom and the power to do whatever I wanted. But when I was an adult, I didn't know what to do with my liberty. I hung back from the open cage door, holding both ends of the leash. When I had a son, I started to let myself go a little bit. And even though I still clung to my adult armor, convinced that I needed it to protect my family and my way of life, my little boy reminded me of the little boy that I'd been. And we played with Lego, and we made up stories, and we put on costumes, and we drew, and we drew. Becoming a father was my most significant creative experiment. And I didn't, and I couldn't know everything about it. I had to let myself try things, screw things up, try something. I don't know. I wanted to be perfect, but I discovered that I never could be. And it was okay. More years passed, and they brought me so many unexpected things that I couldn't plan for, things that I couldn't guard my loins against. Crap would happen, and I couldn't control it. I'd experienced the worst when I thought I was prepared. So what if I let go instead? And I started to let myself lean into the unknowable and to let come what may. And I'm still learning how to let go, but through these creative experiments, I've allowed myself to dangle over the edge while still holding on to some sort of structure. I set parameters for my improvisation, and they let me take risks in a productive way. I set up challenges that adhere to a schedule or to a scope. And I'm playing a standard tune, basically, but I'm improvising everything about how I do it. I will make X number of X's in X days, and I will use X colors and make drawings of X to be determined. I'll pick a subject on a whim, and then I'll find a good teacher or program to learn it. A dollop of knowable stuff with a side of random chaos. This summer, I conducted 3 experiments. I enrolled in a 100-day program to learn how to use no-code tools to create software. And I launched a new course about visual memoir making called Your Illustrated Life. And I met with students for 3 to 4 hours every week to share ideas and experiences. And I switched up my art materials. I used new sketchbooks, which have these brightly colored pages, and I started using children's tempera sticks to really set my palette on fire and to help me play. And then in September, I started another new experiment. I built a membership program on YouTube where I come and conduct a drawing experiment in real time. It's been primarily live events to raise the ante and to make it fresher and more unpredictable. I want to share it with people who will come to it with an open and experimental mind and get something out of it. It costs a little, but very little, to make sure that only those people who are willing to commit a little will come. But any interested person can afford to participate. It's basically the price of a tall latte. So far, it's been a lot of fun, and I've pushed myself into some uncomfortable but liberating places. And I'm just starting the 2nd month, and it still has my pulse racing and has me full of excitement with ideas popping out of my head like popcorn. This video that I'm just making here, it's also a bit of an experiment. I made it as fast as I could, and I plan to post it immediately to keep up the momentum. It's another creative experiment to shake off the cobwebs. It worked for me. How about you?